It's episode 26 of Bandits Weekly, presented by Smash Supplements. My name's Nathan Crosby. We're looking forward to the BCHL playoffs coming to Brooks starting April 19th. That's this weekend. Bandits will host the Okotoks Oilers in one of the Alberta semifinals. We'll talk about that later on in this episode, which we've got some great guests. Bandits forward Jordan Hughesman, Merrimack commit, will be joining us in just a few moments. And then later on, we've got a lengthy chat with my good friend, Bandits longtime color commentator, Ken Flurry. How many rings does that guy have now? He's got a few championships. So we're going to be talking to Kenny later on in the episode, which is brought to you by Smash Supplements, where you can get everything you need to power through your day and level up, located in downtown Brooks. Open Monday to Friday, 10 to 6, Saturday, 10 to 4. Thank you, Smash Supplements. One of these episodes, I'm going to remember that advertisement, and I won't have to look at the paper. But not this episode, unfortunately. Just a quick recap of the Bandits and what they've been up to the last few days. Of course, they have a bye through the wild card round of the BCHL playoffs, so they had last weekend off from playing. The weekend before, up in Sherwood Park for 2 games. The Friday night, a raise to 3-2 deficit in the third. Hunter Wallace tied the game. Kalen Fitzpatrick with the go-ahead goal. Logan Sawyer scores on a breakaway. And then Jordan Hughesman, who we'll hear from in a second, scores the empty netter to make it 6-3. 4 unanswered goals, comeback win number 58 on the season. 58 total wins on the season for the Bandits, which is a new high of any Bandit team. 57 wins from the 2018-19 team was the previous record. So congratulations to this team. They finished with 338 goals scored combined this year. That's the second most as well by a Bandits team. And you can nitpick, like they played 65 games this year, but at the end of the day, that's just the facts. That was the second highest scoring team and the most wins in a single season by a team. So that's awesome. And they tied the second fewest losses by any Bandit team in a season with 7, tied with the 2012-13 team and last year's team that won in Portage. The following night, a 6-3 setback, so they don't get to win number 59. But there were some nice moments in that game. Liam Davidson, back in the lineup, scores a big goal in that game to give them a chance. He had missed some time with injury. Nick Peluso, Parker Lalonde get the other goals, and Sam Scopa, 26 saves in net. But they end the season with the loss to Sherwood Park. Bandits do go 7-1 against the Crusaders in the season series. So definitely looking forward to seeing if those two teams can see each other again down the road. Sherwood Park will play Blackfalds in the other Alberta semifinal, and it will be Brooks versus Okotoks beginning this weekend at the CRA. In case you missed it, Okotoks had to play Spruce Grove in the wild card round, and I think surprisingly a quick round. Okotoks sweeping the Spruce Grove Saints 3-0 in that best-of-5 series. So Okotoks seems to have found their game here in the playoffs. Okay, before we get to the interview with Jordan Hughesman, I just want to give a big thank you to all our volunteers who helped out at the Bandits U18 showcase this past weekend at the CRA. Lots of volunteers in the media division. We had camera operators, music, replay, and they worked long hours throughout the day, so thank you to them. They were all led by Drayson. They did a great job. Thank you to our penalty box, our penalty box people led by Murray, that did the score clock for all the games. Thanks to Mike and Sheila for helping out with our raffle that we held. The players, the Bandits, they helped out with reffing and coaching. And thanks to all the players and families that came out to Brooks that weekend. It was super successful. And finally, our staff and scouts, led by Wayne, who did an outstanding job on the weekend, and all of our support staff as well. It was a real fantastic weekend. The Future Showcase coming up in early May, the 3rd to the 5th at the CRA. Okay, let's get to our interview with Bandits forward, Jordan Hughesman. Jordan, thanks for coming on Bandits Weekly. Looking forward to the playoffs. I mean, it's a pretty exciting time every year when we go into playoffs, and you were part of it last year with the team, but it's extra special this year because it is the first in the BCHL for the Bandits. Just what's the sense around the room right now heading into playoffs?
I think we're all really excited. It's something kind of different for us, so it's something to look forward to, like a new challenge for us to kind of try to take advantage of, and it's really exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be, I mean, such great competition. We have Okotoks in this series. You got Sherwood Park and Blackfalds in the other series. And then at the end of the road there, the goal is to get to the Rocky Mountain Challenge and play the winner of BC. I mean, it's a pretty exciting time, and does it make it even more special knowing that you're going to be playing against the best teams in Canada?
Yeah, I think it's definitely really exciting. Like, I mean, the national championship last year was great, obviously, but it's kind of a new challenge for us, and it's obviously it'll be the best team in Canada because BC is obviously a great league, and us joining that, so it'll definitely be the best team in Canada wins it all, so it'll be awesome.
How nice was it to have a weekend of not playing games? I know you guys were all helping out with camp, and but just not having games, getting a little bit of downtime, and now getting ready to prepare and practice this week.
Yeah, it was definitely nice to get some time off after like a long year being here since August. So it was nice to coach the camp as well. You know, interact with some kids and just be together with the guys. Yeah, it was great.
And you mentioned the trip to Sweden in August and the length of this season. It always can seem like in the regular season that like things start to drag a little bit, but then you kind of get that jolt again at playoffs. Does it feel like you guys are now starting to get re-energized here?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, coming into the last couple of games of the year, it's always hard with nothing to really play for to stay focused. But you know, getting back into playoffs, everybody's excited. The vibes around the room have been really good, and you know, I'm super excited where we all are.
And the annual tradition of dyeing your hair black.
Yeah.
So like, did you guys like all get together? Did you do it at your billet houses, like in pods? Like, how does that work?
I went to like Marshy's and Sawyer's billets because my billets are gone on vacation right now. So usually my billets would dye my hair, but I had to go there this year and get it done. And yeah, they're kind enough to help me with that.
So are the rules like for everybody? Like, what if you're a player like your roommate Davide Patella, who already has black hair?
Yeah. The rules are you still got to dye it no matter what, even though it doesn't change much. But it's kind of if everybody's going to do it, or if one person has to do it, everybody's got to do it. So it's kind of.
I'm sure you guys are having a lot of fun with it, and certainly brings the team together. And what was it like the last few months? Remember, like at the deadline there back in February, a lot of new faces coming in, and it gave you a couple months to gel. But just what do you think of the whole makeup of this team?
I think we're a really like deep group this year. A bit different than last year. We had a bit more heavy scoring up front, but I think we're a great group this year, and we got a lot of really good players.
Just want to go back to Patty for a second, because I know I had him on the podcast earlier this season, and he talked about you, and I'm sure. I hope you got to see it because he's had some nice things to say about you. But Davide is obviously very well liked here by not just the players and the fans, but all the staff too.
Yeah.
I mean, he's such a great kid. Just tell us about what makes him such a special player and a good friend.
Yeah, I mean, he's a one-of-a-kind person. You know, he's probably one of the most loyal people I've ever met, and he's pretty much become like a brother to me, living with him for the past 2 years. And it's going to be really hard to not see him next year, but I'm sure I'm going to catch up with him a couple times. But you know, he's obviously a great hockey player, but more importantly, he's a great person, and I wouldn't want to live with anyone else for sure.
What's this season been like for you, and just going through everything? You know, you had an injury there, but getting through that, and now getting ready for playoffs.
I mean, it's been a long year, but I mean, I had a couple injuries throughout the way, so that made it a bit harder. But you know, I've just been looking forward to playoffs this whole time. It's kind of what you look forward to the whole year, and it's finally here, so I'm super excited for that.
That second last game up in Sherwood Park, what was going through your mind there when you scored that empty netter? And we'll talk about what happened after, but getting that goal.
Yeah, I mean, it was nice to finally get one. I've had quite the dry spell. I've had so many chances I just can't score, but it was nice to. I didn't even really see it go in, but you know, it felt good to finally get that one off my back.
And how about your teammate Danil Korzaletsky coming in?
Yeah, yeah, that was kind of funny, but yeah, I got up because I didn't want to leave our guys hanging out to dry just in case something happened. But yeah, he's a funny guy, Danny, for sure. So yeah, it was kind of funny just to laugh that one off. But
and how are you feeling health-wise?
Oh, I feel good. You know, my body, like getting a week off of rest has really helped. So feeling rejuvenated and ready to go.
Okay, just backing things up here and learning more about you and your story. Winnipeg kid growing up. What was that like? And just tell us about your family and where you're from.
Yeah, I'm from East St. Paul, Manitoba, so it's just outside Winnipeg, and pretty much grew up my whole life playing hockey. Both my cousins played, my brother played, same with my dad, and so my cousin played in the WHL, and he was a big role model for me growing up. He was a great player, and so was my brother. So you know, I grew up golfing, just playing sports, and my parents were like super supportive of anything I wanted to do. So I had a great upbringing, and I love my whole family.
What are your brother and your cousin up to now? Are they still playing hockey?
My cousin just retired actually a couple years ago. I'm not sure how old he is, but he's in his 30s somewhere, but he's like 32.
Oh, he's old like me.
Yeah. So, but my brother, he's in veterinarian school in Saskatoon, so he's doing that. He's a pretty smart guy, but I wish I could say the same about myself. But yeah, he's more of a brains guy than me, but yeah.
Has he always like been interested in animals, and is that like something that he always wanted to do?
Yeah, I think I don't know if he's always wanted to do it, but definitely in the last, like, his last couple of years in high school, he kind of found an interest in that and took it from there.
Awesome. Did you guys have pets growing up?
I had a dog. My dog passed away this summer, so.
Oh, sorry to hear.
Yeah, no, that's okay. But yeah, she was a great dog, and yeah. Well, we had 2 golden retrievers. I had one when I was growing up. He died, and then another one.
Well, I got to give a shout out to your dad, Darren, because last year, of course, we were in Portage for the Centennial Cup, and a bunch of the parents got a chance to go golfing one of the off days in Winnipeg, and I think he was one of the main organizers of that. So really awesome to see, and then it's so important when you have a strong parent group like that as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, my dad's a big golfer, so yeah, I'm sure he was happy to take you guys out for sure.
Better than you?
No, I wouldn't say that. He used to be. Not anymore, though.
You passed him?
Yeah, I passed him.
I hope he hears this.
Yeah.
What's your favorite track back home to play?
I like playing Elmhurst. I think you guys might have played there.
I didn't make it out that day.
Oh,
I
you
wasn't.
didn't? Oh, okay.
I was not feeling well.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I like playing Elmhurst and Pine Ridge. Those are my 2 favorites back home.
Excellent. And then you played for the Winnipeg Thrashers. So you played all your minor hockey in Winnipeg?
Yeah, all my minor hockey in Winnipeg, kind of right up in the area I lived in.
Yeah.
So it was great. I had a lot of fun. Made a lot of great friends, and had great coaches. So nothing to complain about for that.
And then some time in the MJ.
Yeah.
Then you go to the USHL.
I went first to the MJ my 17-year-old year, and then that was COVID. So I played there for 7 games, and then the next full year I played there, and I had a great experience there. My coach, Hudson Friesen, was a tremendous coach, and he's just one of a kind guy. So I loved playing there, and then I went to Cedar Rapids after that.
Cedar Rapids, speaking of the Rough Riders, Sam Scopa, who's now a Bandit, you roomed with him there.
Yeah.
A really cool story I was just telling you before the interview. One of our last home games here in Brooks, I'm on the walking track, and a lady who I've never seen walks up to me and introduces herself, and it's your billet from Cedar Rapids, and came all this way to watch you and Sam. I mean, that's pretty special that a billet would come all that way.
Yeah, we were pretty close. She was a one-of-a-kind billet and one-of-a-kind person, so it was great to see her. I haven't seen her for quite a while, but yeah, we were super close. She was a great billet, and yeah, it was awesome to see her.
What did you take away from the experience of the MJ playing down south and then coming back up north playing in Brooks? How do you think like those stops really helped you prepare yourself now to be a successful Bandit?
I think it just makes you mature as a person and as a player a lot. So I've kind of I've been through it all. Like in Manitoba, I was more of a goal scorer, kind of that thing. So went there, and then I went down south, and I was still kind of a bit of a goal scorer there. And then coming here, I kind of found a new role here. But playing junior for such a long time, you kind of realize your strengths, weaknesses, and kind of try to adjust to that, and kind of help me I think it'll help me for college, and kind of just being mature as a person and mature in my game.
Yeah, you're one of many Merrimack commits on the team. Hunter Wallace, Jack Good, Parker Lalonde. I mean, that's pretty sweet to see so many of you now moving on to that next step, and that's a great program. Sure. Zach Bookman, of course, having tremendous success there. But now just focusing back on this year, and I think one of the most special moments of this season, Jordan, was the team awards, specifically the Unsung Hero Award, co-winners, yourself and Ian Mills. I mean, let's talk first about Ian, and how cool was it to see a player, in this case a goaltender, come mid-season and make such an impact on a team, hadn't started a game, and then wins that award along with you.
Yeah, I was really happy for him. He's just such a great guy. He does kind of takes quite a beating from us players with shots, and never has a complaint about it. So it was great to see him win that award, because he's such a great guy, great team player, and you know, it was awesome for him.
And what did it mean for you getting that award as well?
I mean, it was an honor for sure. There could have been a lot of great candidates for that. We have so many great guys on our team, so I was happy to win it, obviously, and it was awesome.
You talked about adjustments earlier this year, and I got to ask you, as a veteran player, what was it like switching leagues in the middle of the season? What have you thought of it so far?
It was a little weird at first. I mean, but I think it's been really beneficial for us playing good teams every single game. So I think it's helped all of our young guys mature a lot instead of playing kind of the weaker teams. So it's made our team a lot better, and I think it's made myself better for sure too.
Absolutely. Well, we really appreciate you taking some time to do this. It's a busy week coming up. It's an exciting time for the team, but looking forward to playoffs.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Bandits forward, Jordan Hughesman. Thanks to Jordan Hughesman for joining us on Bandits Weekly. We've got another guest coming up in Ken Flurry. I think Ken and Jordan golfed together last year at the Bandits tournament, so a nice connection there. We'll get to Ken in just a second, but I want to talk about definitely Ken's favorite player, and I'm sure lots of Bandits fans' favorite player, and that's Cale Makar. Last week set a new Avalanche Nordiques record for most points in a season by a defenseman with 87, and he beat the previous record of 86 that he set 2 years ago in the 21-22 season. And hopefully that's a good sign of things to come, because it was that 21-22 season that the Avalanche won the Stanley Cup. So congratulations to Cale on that new milestone for him, and hopefully he can add another Norris Trophy here by the end of the season. We also had the NCAA Frozen Four this past weekend. 3 former Bandits were in the Frozen Four: TJ Hughes at Michigan, Boston Buckberger with Denver, and Aiden Celebrini at Boston University. Tough one for Boston University, losing in overtime to Denver. And then Michigan ran out of gas there and lost to Boston College, a stacked Boston College team. So it was Boston College against Denver in the championship game, with the Pioneers shutting out Boston College in the final game. Quite the performance from former Spruce Grove St. Matt Davis in that game. But Boston Buckberger wins a national championship. Congratulations to him. All right, let's get to our chat with the one, the only, Ken Flurry. Well, Ken, usually we're getting ready to call a game and we have headsets on, but it's a bit of a different setting today in the video room. And but I appreciate you coming on for Bandits Weekly. There's lots to get on to talk about today, especially with your long career of being a Bandits broadcaster. But first off, I've got to ask you just about this season. We've had a unique year for the Bandits and the other teams that went to the BCHL from Alberta. Just what have you thought about everything that's transpired over the last few months?
You know, it was a difficult process, and in the end, that process will be judged by those that feel they need to judge it. But the reality was the Bandits were no longer able to play those other 11 teams. So the 5 together really needed to get something going and move on, so they could get their players back on the ice, get their fans back in the stands, and fulfill, to their communities the promise of a hockey season. And literally in 10 days they were able to do that. So once that was done, the political piece of this was over, and the 5 moved on together and formed a very exciting Alberta division of the BCHL.
I'd like to say that you're like a man of the community. I mean, you've lived in Brooks your whole life. You know everyone here. What has the reaction been like for you around not just Brooks, but the region, the county of Newell, and everything that's happened?
The overall reaction, I think, has been pretty good. People are excited. People want to watch competitive hockey, and certainly the competitive piece had become a bit of an issue for the Brooks Bandits. But with the 4 teams leaving and going to the BCHL, I mean, we just needed to go with them. And I thought, now, from a competitive standpoint, for the rest of this season and next year, it's going to be outstanding. I think we're going to see a higher level of hockey here in Brooks. And
I would echo that, just with what I've been in conversations with people in the community, whether it's fans, sponsors, friends. It's been so positive about the change, and they've enjoyed the hockey so far. What have you thought about the hockey so far in the BCHL? I mean, there's been some games that have gotten pretty nasty. I mean, like the competitiveness between these 5 teams, 5 really good teams, and you're seeing that competitiveness every night.
I think they've had to play with a higher pace, and hockey's all about what speed you can play with, and that defines the level of hockey. And I think the speed and pace that the Alberta side of the BCHL has played with is significantly upped from where they were. So the competition has breeded that, and some of the games have been pretty testy and meaningful. And like I said, these players only have a very short window to prove to, potentially the schools they're going to, or their aspirations for professional hockey, to prove themselves. So every game is of huge value to them. So they've really exhibited on all 5 teams how important these games actually are.
And what have you thought of the BCHL and getting to meet some of the people in the BCHL and what they've been able to do, and how that league has taken in 5 teams in the middle of a season? Is quite remarkable.
It really was. And I mean, the process was pretty amazing to be able to do that in 10 days, find the ice time, get the schedule crafted, and then, kudos to the BCHL, because, helping and getting through that process, there's a lot of things behind the scenes that need to be done for these players to play hockey. So, and, for the staffs to go forward and the communities to go forward. So a lot of work was done, and, it was done in the right way. And, now they're playing, and the kind of the piece that is going to be, the most exciting is the Alberta BC Championship, because last year I don't think anyone in the hockey world could deny that if the Brooks Bandits would have played the Penticton Vs, it would have been the series that everyone watched. It would have been extremely competitive, and in talking to Nick DeGraves, he thought it would have been a 7-gamer, and he was on that side at the time and thought they would have won. But I went and saw Penticton play live in Trail in a playoff game, and it would have been a series as we're going to go into through Bandits Weekly, one of the series that would have been the most memorable in Bandits history.
I look at this year's team, and the first word that comes to mind, and the coaches have said the same, is depth. Very deep team this year. There's some teams in the past that reminds me of. I mean, that 18-19 team that won 57 games was also very deep. But what do you like about this year's team and the makeup of the roster?
I think, the combination that you need. The players can play with pace. There's the players that play with, the skill and play a little lighter game, but a lot of heavy players too. And just the ability to play all 200 feet at that high pace is really what separates you as a hockey player. So if you can continue to progress in the pace you can play, you're going to move up through the levels. So I think, a combination of all those things just make this a very solid 200-foot hockey club.
Can't wait for the playoffs to start. As we're recording this, it's going to be game 1 of the play-in series, the wild card round, between Okotoks and Spruce Grove. But what do you think of the matchups? We got Okotoks and Spruce. They always play each other tight. The winner of that series is going to get Brooks. And then on the other side of things, in the other semifinal, you're going to have Sherwood Park and Blackfalds. Do you think Blackfalds can push Sherwood?
Absolutely. I think that's a team that can score goals, and if they get good goaltending and have, for them, it's going to be those key guys on Brown and Patterson being healthy in the back end. If they can sustain a good back end, they can score and play within themselves and get some good goaltending. It will be very tough for the Crusaders. They're a solid hockey club, so I think it's going to be a pretty exciting and lengthy series.
And what about Spruce Okotoks? Thoughts on that?
It's a bit of a wild card, because who will Okotoks have in their lineup? We know what Spruce has been doing the last few weeks. They've been pretty healthy. They're with their top guys, but a lot of key guys for Okotoks have not been in the lineup. So will a guy like Nick Wolfenberg be able to come in? Rylan Brown has been out. They've had some real key guys. The thing with them, I think it's going to be the goaltending. If their D can play good in front of them, they get decent goaltending, I think they've got a good chance. But Spruce definitely, especially the last few weeks going into the playoffs, on the goaltending side, they've been a little better than the Oilers.
And for those that missed it, the Rocky Mountain Challenge will be the end of May. It'll be the winner of the Alberta Cup and the winner of BC meeting in a best of 3, and it'll be the first and last ever Rocky Mountain Challenge, with the Alberta teams being assimilated in the BCHL next year. Just quickly on that, and then we'll move on from this, but just what do you think about next year and the fact that we're going to be seeing some of these BC teams coming in here, and the Bandits are also going to be heading west?
Well, it's incredibly exciting, because from a competitive level, we're going to have over a dozen new teams in this building. And when the schedule shakes out, the names we all know, right? The Penticton Vs and the the Vernon Vipers and the Trail Smoke Eaters, and we'll see a little more Cranbrook, as it sounds like they'll be part of the Eastern Division. So, I mean, it's just exciting to have those new teams in. Anytime, when Cranbrook came a year ago, and the series with Penticton here, and of course the Doyle Cups, and the 2019 National Championship. I mean, those are very exciting times here. So I expect it to be a high level, very entertaining, competitive hockey, and it's great to, I think it was time for, a change, and both these groups have moved on, and I just hope that there's room for everybody and success to everyone.
So let's go back in the vault here and talk about a young Ken Flurry. When did you first start to love hockey?
Well, I the second that I had a hockey stick put in my hand, probably at 2 or 3 years old, I'm of the arguably the boomer generation, but I may be Gen X. I'm right on that border. So I mean, it was a very simple time. You didn't the latchkey kids. You went outside. You played street hockey. You played, on the outdoor rink or wherever you could. So there was no, the technology, of course, wasn't the same. So, I mean, at a very early age, I became, in love with the game.
And born in Winnipeg, but when did you move to?
I was 4 years old, yeah. It was the last, the last stop in my parents. My father worked in the finance business, and then they came to Brooks in 1969, so I had just turned 4 years old when they came to Brooks. So we moved here without knowing anybody and established a life, and I've been here ever since.
I'm going to say, did you ever live anywhere else?
Not really. I played a little junior hockey here and there, but basically Brooks has been my home, and of course my family business. My parents had it, and then I went into the family business. We had a furniture store in Brooks for 50 years, and I closed it 9 years ago and leased the building out.
Back to your junior hockey career, tell us about where you went.
Well, I played a little bit. I went to major junior camps. I played one exhibition game with the Medicine Tigers, and I went to Swift Current and played a little bit of Tier 2 Junior A with the then Broncos, and then mostly Junior B here in Brooks. And at the time, Junior B was pretty good hockey. There was no Junior A hockey in Southern Alberta, so we played SAIT, who were the national champions, in an exhibition game and lost 4-0. So, we had guys that went on and played other levels of hockey, but it was a different time. You just kind of played close to home, and unlike today where, we have FaceTime and your parents can watch a game wherever you are, and, it's a global game, and the players are global now. They're educating and training and playing hockey, across the world.
I'm interested to know anyone that you played with from Brooks that's still around the area that you think was a really good player and probably could have maybe gone and played at a pretty high level?
Yeah, there was a couple of them. Henry Prinz is a guy. He's still in business in Brooks, and we actually play rec hockey together, and was a very talented forward. And a defenseman named Larry Woods is another one that comes to mind. Larry was, came to Brooks to play Junior B and ended up having his life here. So those are a couple guys that, if, maybe would have went the Junior A channel, may have went somewhere, but they were very good players.
Do you remember when the Bandits came, when the franchise, was granted by the AJ and the team came to town? What was it like back then?
It was different because, it's not like the processes of today. I mean, there was no social media, there's no cell phones, so you read in the paper that a team was coming, or you had a friend that you discussed it with. So it was a very different process. It was exciting. I mean, it was real formative years because there was very little in the South at the time, and really the dominating figure in junior hockey in this community was the Medicine Tigers. So it was part of Junior A hockey in Alberta, and the first few years were very difficult, as most teams, in that day starting up. But as they evolved in coaching and players and became a little more credible getting players, and then through that process, it ended up that the new arena was built here, and the the current history that the Bandits, the post Centennial Arena to the new CRA has been, the success of this hockey club since it moved here is unparalleled to any amateur professional sports organization on the planet.
I love the stories of the early years in the old, the Centennial Arena. And especially that playoff series against the Canucks, I want to say 05, 06, around there. You
yes.
were around that.
I certainly
I
was.
love hearing stories about that, but just tell us again about just what it was like, in those games.
Well, I was involved. I did a little bit of post game on the radio, but it was, the NHL strike was on, so it was the only hockey being played, and on the Fan 960, of course, Mike Richards, who's a lot will know, kind of delved into that series, and Don Phelps said that Brooks was, it was like going and playing in a hat box.
Head coach of the Canucks.
Yeah, head coach of the Canucks at the time, and he was the maintenance manager at McMahon Stadium for years too. So he coached the Canucks for, I think, probably in the Alberta Hockey Hall of Fame. So, a legendary coach in Brooks, and so of course that really inflamed the series. And there was the arena probably by fire code could seat 800. There's probably 1,100 in there. There was. Everyone had an air horn. It was festival seating, so if you wanted a seat, you had to go about 4 o'clock and put a blanket down or a pillow, and the building was packed. And when it got to Game 7, the Bandits were down 3-2, and they went to Calgary and won that game. And my daughter, one of her friends at the time, played for the Calgary Canucks. And when they got to Brooks for Game 7, there was 300 people outside, giving them the rhubarb, and they went on the ice and just knew that for warm up it was deafening in there, and it was the first great hockey event in Bandits history for sure. And the Bandits went on and took that by a large margin, and then played in the crossover and lost to Grand Prairie in the end.
It seems like such a great building block, though, to everything that we see now. You can't
sorry, lost to Camrose in 4, who ended up winning.
And that was back in Camrose
yes.
Heyday. But it is, those building blocks, these stories of the early years, so important to the whole history of the team, and I think it's definitely worth mentioning. So now, when did you get the bug in your ear that you wanted to get into broadcasting the games? Was it during that series or before? Or?
It was kind of, I had helped a little bit with post-game. I was an advertiser and did my own commercials on the radio. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of a segue into helping out, and I had played a little hockey. So actually what had happened is one of the broadcasters that was permanent left the radio station, and they needed someone to help Dennis Siebel, and John Petrie asked if I would help, and that's where it all started. So it was trial by fire. I went in and gave her a shot.
Do you remember your first ever game, like doing with the headset on, like play-by-play color, whatever?
Yeah, I do, and it was actually in the CRA, the start of the 2011 season. It was the first game. That was the first game I did in our tie line. So the tie line, of course, is the device that transports voice to the radio station. It was primitive. My head is still ringing from the reverb from that tie line. It was a mono one channel. So when there was no, the mics, of course, when one spoke and the other started to speak, it was two voices at the same time on a mono channel. So you had to be very cognizant of your partner when you spoke. But I absolutely remember it. And it was actually, my very first game was the night that Nick Crosby's sweater was retired.
Wow.
That was the opener of the 2011-2012 season.
Yeah, you're not forgetting that game.
Certainly not, no.
Speaking of your partner, Dennis Siebel, who the media suite here at the CRA is named after. Describe him for us that don't know Dennis.
Dennis worked very hard at his career in the radio station. He had been in radio all his life. He, came from Drumheller, so he had, with the Drumheller miners, he had been involved. But, a guy that loved hockey and a hockey family, and he did the broadcast. It was a very different process than it wasn't, as it is now, inclusive of the team. It was exclusive of the team. So kind of did his own thing. We rode in the radio station, a vehicle, or got a car and drove to, didn't do all the road games, but did some. And it was a fun time because, when I came on, Dennis had been part of it for a long time. And that first championship in Fort McMurray, I had the privilege of being there with him for that, and a guy that had, been on the mic for 11 years and seen a lot of losing. And I'll never forget the quote, one of the first quotes he gave me. We were in Drumheller and the Bandits were winning 8-1. And I said, "This is tough. What do you come up with to say when you're winning 8-1? He goes, "Well, it's a lot easier to come up with something to say when you're winning 8-1 versus when you're losing 8-1. So, Dennis had some anecdotes, and, him and Marianne, very nice people, and enjoyed the time I had with them.
Yeah, I mean, you and I have called enough
Yes.
lopsided games where we sometimes the conversation during the third period starts to start talking about our
Yes, we
golf
get
game
off the rails a little bit, yes.
favorite bands, what Kale's up to.
Yes.
But it's really cool to hear that what you say about how much time he put in the early years, and to see someone like that get to call the championship game up in Fort McMurray. And I talked to guys that have been around the team that were around the team during that time. And that first league championship, winning it up in Fort Mac, sounds like it was such a unique one because it is the first. What was so special about that time?
Well, the team rattled off 20 wins in a row heading into the playoffs to capture first place. And you could see that they were really coming together as a unit. They were competitive in the beginning, but they were kind of, in the mix, and Fort McMurray looked to be the strength. But in that series, they were able to, be dominant, win it in 6 games up there. And it was very exciting to be there. It would have been really nice if it could have been here, but it was the first time of anything is great, whether it's...
Must have been packed in there, though.
It was packed, and as I recall, the corner we were in, isn't the broadcast spot in Fort McMurray anymore. A lot of pucks came in there. I lost a couple coffees and almost a couple teeth, but so you had to be on guard for that. And it was really nice, listening to Dennis call that final minutes. It was 4-0. You knew the team had it won, and just the newness of it. I mean, this community through all its junior B years never won a championship. So to win the Alberta Junior Hockey League championship in 2011 was, the first, and fortunately the first of many, but just a wonderful experience to be part of.
Does anything rival, and there's been such great moments, hosting in the national championship, winning at home, and then the most recent Centennial Cups, but there's nothing quite like that first national championship win in Summerside back in 2013, and the team that Brooks had is so special. We have 2 of their former players as assistants now, and getting to go out to Summerside, does anything beat that season, Ken?
It was incredible. The Bandits got through 1 in 5, so they won their second championship at home. So they beat Spruce Grove in 5
and went
games.
through a battle in the South Final.
Yes.
I always hear about that series.
Yeah, the 2013 7-game series. Okotoks and Brooks were the 1 and 2 teams in the country. I don't think there was any doubt about that. And it was Cam McLeese versus Chris Collins, and it was a back and forth series, and the Bandits ended up winning it in 7. And and I mean, it was incredible because Game 6, the Bandits are up 2-0. Okotoks comes back and tied it, and Gino DePauli and I still, share this moment. Anthony Petruzzelli, I believe, goes out into the corner, or Anthony Paskrak, one of the 2 Anthonys, digs the puck out, throws it out in front, and when I saw it went to Cam McLeese, I thought, ball game, baby. Not that I coined that phrase, but I'll borrow it from you. And it was just that split moment in time. You could see Cam got the puck, and he, put it past Morris, and that was it.
When you guys won in Summerside and the team came back to Brooks, what was that like?
Well, the journey was incredible because first they had to get to Nanaimo, and so the Western Canada Cup at the time, they went through and then lost to, in the 1-2 game, they lost to Surrey and played Yorkton in you know, because 2 spots came out of that tournament, and 2-1, and Mark Logan scored, you know, the game-winning goal in that hockey game. And 3 days later, we drove, Dennis and I, and we drive back to Brooks, and 2 days later we're on a plane, and
I was going to say, did you drive to Summerside together?
If it wouldn't have been 60 hours, maybe, but that wasn't the case.
Oh, you and I have done, we've done Phoenix
we've done some drives, so we flew to Summerside, and it was incredible. You know, the perfect environment for that championship, much like Brooks was. You know, the community was highly engaged. You know, a small setting where very rural, very hometown. The people were excited for it. The tournament was, you know, it really looked to be a 2-horse race after, you know, the first couple of games. And that's kind of the first time I really realized in the tournament that they really don't start till Thursday, because the round robin, it looked like Brooks and Surrey were destined for each other. And in the semifinal, of course, the Bandits got the Minnesota Wilderness, and were trailing, and you know, our Dakota Mason was part of that game-tying goal, and of course Mark Rayner scores the winner in overtime. And you know, in those, and then of course Surrey dropped their game to Summerside, and the Bandits played Summerside in the final, winning 3-1. And but we're in total control of all that game. But just showed you the fragility of a tournament where, you know, a 1-game shot, not necessarily the best team can come through. And for that, you know, has happened through history of these tournaments, and the atmosphere for the Bandits to win, and just, you know, and a great group of players, their families, a lot of, you know, fans, some fans came from Brooks. So it was a very exciting time to be part of that. We were all sequestered in a little hotel that was along the shoreline, and we lived on lobster. And of course, you know, a lot of the parents, you know, Mike Smiley and Danny Lee were there, of course, a couple guys I still keep in touch with, and that was a real great moment, and very grateful to be part of it. And I told this story when Graham Carlson passed, him and I scouring the island of PEI for sticks for RJ Reed. So we found one 110 flex in a sports store in Mill Valley, which was in the middle of nowhere. So you know, we just had a wonderful time, and the fact that the team, you know, Ryan had done such a great job getting that team there and winning that championship. And, you know, and that's where I really saw, you know, Ryan Papuano, when that championship was won, we were sitting there celebrating, and he was very calm and relaxed. And you know what he was thinking about? How can I win this next year? And he is, you know, his contribution to this hockey club, you know, the structure he's put in place, the drive, he never reinvents the wheel. He's always pushing himself to find new processes and the newest ways to play and be on that cutting edge. And I'm very grateful for, you know, that championship and just what Ryan has contributed to this organization.
And I always get the sense when talking to guys from that team, there's such a special bond with that team that every team's, you know, they're brothers, but I always get with that team a real sense of just an absolute bond there that is unshakable, and it's going to be there for the rest of the time. And how cool is it for you to now see Taylor Make and Dakota Mason back coaching here?
Yeah, you know, life comes full circle. I mean, Dakota and Taylor, they're parents. You know, they have children, and they're coaching and working their way up the hockey ladder. And it's great that, you know, the team can afford them the opportunity to coach. And it's great that, you know, guys that have been through the process and work very hard at becoming coaches have the opportunity to coach under Ryan here in Brooks, because they made a significant contribution, you know, to the coaching, and it's great. And their futures, you know, whether it's in Brooks or we know how hockey works at some point, it may be somewhere else down the road, but it's been great that the alumni can be back part of the coaching process here in Brooks.
Absolutely, and also some great other assistants, Nick Percusic, another former player, Evan McFeeder, Scott Cunningham, Gunner, you know, definitely quite a coaching tree that Pap's been able to develop here.
But if you look at it since 2010, I mean, you listed everybody.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's, you know, we've had, you know, a couple, Matt Wong and Kevin Zavinijic as goaltending coaches, but, you know, it just speaks to, you know, the workability of the program when so few coaches go through. It's never, you know, the change for coaches is always developmental and positive.
Yeah, and Kevin Yellowego too.
Yes, and of
Long-time
course
skills
Kevin,
coach.
yes.
Okay, speaking of characters, Tyler King. I mean, what a broadcaster he was, is still, and you got to, of course, call games with him. And I mean, I think I call a pretty good game, but I know that Tyler calls an excellent game. What's it like broadcasting a game with Tyler?
It's a lot of fun. You really need to be on your toes. Tyler is very emotional when he makes a call, and you need to, fill in the gaps as the analyst where you need to. But it was fantastic to work with Tyler. We always had good communication, what he expected from me, and I tried to fill that the best I can. But a devoted guy. I mean, he came to Brooks, and it was kind of ironic because he had come from Fort Mac, and of course, the hockey world is very much foxholes where. He was in the Fort McMurray foxhole, so anyone outside the Fort McMurray foxhole is, not necessarily the enemy, but the rival. But then the second he was in the Brooks foxhole, then, we were his teammates, and the others were our rivals. So that transitioned very quickly. Got to give Tyler a lot of credit for the development of, the media in Brooks, putting the Jumbotron in, managing it, and a lot of the initiatives he undertook were very important as far as, what yourself and Drayson have been able to take and build from that. And that's the whole key to the process. Everybody is, goes through. Some are here for a short time, some are here for a long time, but it's taking what's left to you and, changing and improving it as you need to through time. And I think that has been a key success to the Bandits media and marketing. Certainly Tyler, was very important in creating that structure.
Oh, I think the best broadcaster I've ever been around. I mean, what I learned from him coming here, and he is an energy that I think is unmatched. So
and depth of knowledge. I mean, Tyler knows every player, what he's done, where he's been, probably everything about him. He's a true
rules.
Yeah.
What's the rule book?
the rules, the referees. But a true professional. He's a sponge. If he doesn't understand it, he goes and researches it and understands it. And I learned a lot from Tyler too. He was a young guy when he came to Brooks. We still are in contact and remain, friends. And that's just the game of hockey. Everybody. The game is played on the ice, and us, the periphery of us, we don't play the game. And all those that don't play the game but support the clubs, we lean in on each other and help each other. It's not the love-hate relationship or the hate relationship or love-hate or competitive relationship you see on the ice. You just don't see that in the press box.
No, and I know what you mean about the foxhole having come from Drumheller.
Yes, sure.
And now spent.
You're hiring Nathan Crosby,
right?
Yeah,
And by the way, I mean we're all still young. You said.
Yes. Well, okay.
You too. I include you in that.
Okay.
So I know we've gone long here, but it's fun going back and reliving all this. Just touching on in 2019, hosting the national championship, winning it at home. To me, watching Brooks beat Prince George in that final game is one of the best hockey games I've ever watched in my life. It's certainly the one that I was most invested in. That moment, what does that moment mean to you?
A number of things. First of all, I was just so thankful and proud of this hockey club for getting there because the level of competition was very high, and Prince George was a very good hockey club. And for them to get through and win it was simply incredible in front of the home fans. And I was very happy for the community because there's, I don't think, unfortunately, when there's a championship that's, out of your community, so many of your supporters just can't get to it. And so for them to be able to be here, lifetime season ticket holders that for whatever reason couldn't travel, for them to be here was the most gratifying piece for me. For all those people that had invested for 19 years of Bandits hockey to be rewarded with a national championship and a lot of people in the rink that weren't with us anymore as well. There was a lot of people that were part of this, and it was just great to see that reward not only for the hockey club but so thankful for the community and the fans. What
a ride it's been, and so many special players have come through. through here. I mean, you got to talk about Cale quickly, and he just set another record for the Avalanche most points in a season by a defenseman, a record that he previously owned. I mean, if we wanted to make a wall in here for him with all his accolades, like it would take a lot of research to go through everything that guy has now accomplished, and there's so much room for more. I mean, how do you put into words what he has done, not just as a Bandit, but everything since then? Could you have ever imagined a career like this?
Well, I don't know if I could imagine, but I'm not shocked. When Cale came to Brooks, he was a real young guy, but you know what? I just think Cale Makar was meant to be Cale Makar. I think his time in Brooks was very important to his development. He got, I had a great conversation with Shane Bear, and he said, the talent absolutely was there, but it was nurtured, it blossomed, and opportunity was given for Cale to develop and being Cale Makar. And, that certainly was important, but he was just meant to be who he is today. So it was nice to witness that here. Of course, brother Taylor playing here, and his mom and dad, wonderful people. Cousin Mark Logan played here. So, the Makars had a connection to this hockey club for a decade, and we're, Gary and I still chat a lot to this day, and just great people, and no better person than Cale. I mean, if you had a wall of accolades up here to Cale Makar, he would probably, feel very bashful about it.
Well, and not only that, I don't know if there's anyone in the world right now who would be able to rival him in terms of accolades. It's good.
It's really incredible. Yes.
It is. And just one more thing on the parents. You talked about your relationship with Gary, and I mean, what an amazing family the Makars are. But you've always had a really special relationship with the parents of the players, and I've always admired that, is your ability to connect with players' parents, not just Gary, but we've had lots of great parents over the years, and I'm sure you still keep in touch with them.
I do, an awful lot of them, and so many, you travel together and you're involved in, the playoffs and the championships and all these events, and you're on the road together. But as a parent, I understand what feedback a parent needs from, at times like when your son goes down and goes off the bench. It's nice to be reassured that, okay, I see your son in the corridor, he's being attended to, or whatever that is. So, I formed a great connection with the parents, and that for me, I've been truly blessed, because there's so many good things that have happened being able to come on this ride with the Brooks Bandits, and the hockey piece. But April and I have made lifelong friends with a lot of these parents, and for that, you can't replace that, and I'll never be more grateful for anything than that.
All right, I hate to put you on the spot here, but
you're going to.
I warned you that I was going to ask you this. If you had to make a starting 5 all-time Bandit roster, we'll go with the Ryan Papuano era. But your all-time 3 forwards, 2D, goalie, who are you going with?
Boy, that's tough. I certainly, I'm going to leave some people out, but I think Cam McLeese. I think Cam scored big goals and was kind of the template of leadership, and defined what this organization from the player standpoint was and became. I think I got to go with Ryan McAllister. Just a pure talent. He's a guy that in that era, the scoring and everything he did. It's really tough, but I'm going to go with Aiden Fink. I think he's on a path. It's a special path. He's a special player. In goal is a tough one, but I think the 29, Ethan Barwick, Pierce Charlson, Mitch Benson, it's all tough, but I'm going to go with Pierce Charlson. I think that 2019 game was probably I'm going to go Cole on this story. I just can't. So Pierce Charlson and Ethan Barwick I'm going to go with. And on the back end, I'm going to go with Brandon Scanlon. I think he's going to be a great, pro and NHL player at some point. And then last but certainly not least is Cale Makar, the player that came in here as a 14, 15-year-old affiliate and became Cale Makar, and he is the epitome of what a good hockey player and good person is, and every single thing that has happened to him and his family has been very hard work for, taken with great humility, and very well deserved.
It's hard to argue with any of those picks. I think I'd go with the exact
Yeah, I've got
same.
a
The second team would be tough because now you
Yes.
can really.
I'm sorry, guys, that I left out. It was tough, and I was on the spot. I think you could go a team of Brooks Bandits for 12 forwards, 6 defensemen, 2 goaltenders, and some affiliates, and still name a bunch of guys that deserve to be listed.
I've really enjoyed this chat, Ken. Before we go, Masters, who's your pick to win the Masters?
Well, everyone's looking at Scotty Scheffler, but apparently his wife is very close to being, she is expecting, of course, and having her baby anytime. So I think that's his focus today. So I'm going to go with one of the bad guys. I'm going to go with Brooks Koepka.
Brooks Bandits. Brooks Koepka. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll leave it at that and enjoy the golf course because that time of year is now upon us.
The most wonderful time of the year. Bandit playoff hockey, the golf course opens.
NHL playoffs.
NHL playoffs. We get to walk outside, enjoy some sunshine and spring and summer life.
Maybe another Avalanche Stanley Cup.
That would be wonderful.
And a Conn Smythe for our friend.
The NHL playoffs are going to be fantastic.
Yes. Ken, looking forward to the playoffs.
Thank you for having me, Nathan. It's been a real pleasure for me. I consider it a privilege and honor to be able to be, being part of Bandits hockey, and look forward to the future, and just excited for this year's playoffs. Thank you.
Big thanks to Jordan Hughesman, Ken Flurry. Great stuff from both of them. We'll keep it short because I know this has gone long. Just a reminder, Bandits playoff packages are on sale. The playoffs begin this Friday, April 19th at the CRA, Bandits versus Okotoks. So game 1 is Friday, game 2 is Saturday. Speaking of Saturday, we just announced the family of Nick Crosby will be visiting Brooks this weekend, and we will have our annual Nick Crosby Memorial Award ceremony Saturday before the game. Looking forward to seeing his family return, Bob and Wendy, and of course the presentation to a very deserving Bandit in Nick's honor. So that's always a very special night, and we look forward to that. That's going to do it for episode 26 of Bandits Weekly, presented by Smash Supplements.